All right. Thank you for being here. I'm super happy and very thankful, of course, grateful for David and Ken's spying business in Atlantic City. I'm always I'm always up for a chat about storefronts and downtowns and experiences. And I will go into each one of those terms eventually. First, I'll tell you a little bit about me. This is my family. I am originally from Ecuador, and we came to this wonderful country 6 years ago. That little guy was one, so he's been growing up here. Um, I am the founder of Storefront Mastery. That's my agency. It's a creative agency that works with local organizations and small businesses in main streets and downtowns to help them upgrade their customer experiences. Usually that is about design, but lately it's been much more about coaching them into looking at their business model, looking at how they present themselves in the public facing part of their business, which is the part that the public has contact with. So the redesign process touches every single aspect of the public facing part of their business. They have founded many other things. Some have come in handy, some have not come in that much handy. um, the way that I came into looking at the intersection of storefronts and downtowns and customer experiences was when I was in art school. I was in art school in Savannah, Georgia, and eventually there was a film production that came to town. It was a movie, I think it was called The Legend of Bagger Vance or something. It was Will Smith and Robert Redford was directing the movie, and all my friends were extras in the movie. And I, for some reason, got a job with someone who had bought a house in Savannah, and they were doing some design work in the house. I was drafting. They brought me to their house, and it was amazing. It was a beautiful historic house in Savannah. They have massive collection of jazz cassettes. This was the 90s. Massive collection of music and a pet iguana. And I got to sit in their drafting room and do the drawings for their house. Turns out that the husband of the couple was an artist, and his job, the reason why he had come to Savannah, was because he was in charge of the staging of the streets of Savannah, so that they would look like the 1920s, because that's where the movie when the movie was set. So his job was to go into the street, look at everything that was going on, and change the signs, and change the street lights, and throw some dirt on the pavement so that it would look a little bit more authentic. So basically, make it into a 1920s street, which was amazing. It looked fantastic, and he was an artist, so he did actually paint it by hand most of the stuff. And then, of course, the extras came, and little boys shouting extra, extra, and carts with selling things and shouting, and everything was moving, and it looked amazingly real. And it was an experience to be there because they had taken historic street, it's a very old city, taking that historic street, but made it look very authentic. And that got me thinking, this is how you do this. I was very young. Then I went back home. I studied more design. I got into small businesses also because my family owns a bookstore. So I got to design that. And that's more or less how I came to look at these two seemingly different areas, which are film production and small business design, storefront design, and merge them together and say, so what I'm doing is basically creating an executive production that will be implemented in the small business. And whenever someone comes into that business, that person feels like they're part of the story. They feel like they're the protagonist in this fantastic movie that is happening in a small business. And they have so much to offer. They have worked so hard in creating their business, worked so hard in their ideas, worked so hard in their supply chains, in their the partners that they have, the people who are the community, the local people who are the community, and come regularly to the store. So they have this incredible wealth of knowledge about their business that is pretty much enough to install an executive production. So that's how I came to what I do now. The most important lesson that I've learned through the years is that every single little thing works towards the objective. And the more details that you look into, the more authentic and the more immersive the experience is going to be. So for the movies, they have to do everything right. There was I'm thinking of a famous old movie scene in which the protagonist was doing something in Rome, wearing robes. This is a funny movie, wearing robes, and then he moves his arm and he's wearing a Rolex. And director stops the movie, starts screaming at the guy, and it's the authenticity lacks the little thing that makes it lack authenticity can ruin the entire experience. So every single detail that you add up starts multiplying with what came before, and that's what makes the experience legendary. So the two key activities for doing this in a downtown are number one, the staging, and number two, the activation. So the staging is what I told you first. Mr. Armstrong came, looked at the storefront, started painting old signs, and put them on top of the 1990s sign. And then the activation is when the movie is rolling, when they're shooting the movie, and everyone comes and gives life to this 1920s setting. Those are the two basic components of the two elements of creating a downtown experience. Who are the experts at these? And these are all commercial brands, you will see. But they are doing things that are very, very relevant to what we're talking about here. So Disney, IKEA, Starbucks, Nike, Aesop. If you haven't seen Aesop, this is a cosmetics brand that brings top architects to design these very tiny pod shops that are in the best places in the world, in the first class lounge at Singapore Airport and Madison Avenue in New York. And each store is absolutely unique because it's this great world class designer who has come to design, but they are maintaining the brand. So, what do they do? And Shinola, I don't know if you ever heard of Shinola. It's the flagship Detroit rebirth brand. It's a brand that came to Detroit, emerged from Detroit designers, and they create watches, bicycles, and leather bags, basically. And they have these amazing stores, and they are expanding other places. And they're more or less the poster child for the rebirth of Detroit. What does Disney do? When you walk into Disneyland, when you walk into Disney World, everything stays in character. You will not even see a princess talking with her actual voice on a corner there. No, everything is going to be taken care of, so you really feel like you're inside this adventure. What does IKEA do? When you go into IKEA and you go through that maze of rooms, staged rooms, you are invited to sit in the chairs. You're invited to go on the beds and open the drawers in the kitchens and do everything to interact with the staging, with the rooms that they have staged for you. What does Starbucks do? Makes you a VIP. As soon as the Starbucks experience that has a few years now started to not be the best experience in the world, they developed a new Starbucks experience. So if you go to Chelsea Market, for example, in New York City, they will have this they call the roastery or something like that, which is the super VIP Starbucks experience. And they have expert baristas, and they have it's just amazing places to go in, and is everything is thought out. You go inside, the lights are perfect, the shine on the coffee machines is perfect. Everything is absolutely everything, every single detail is absolutely taken care of. What does Nike do? There's many of the Nike Town or Nike stores now. When you go in, they have a place where you can personalize something. The one that was right around the corner from where I lived before, in South Beach in Miami had a corner where you could make your own sneakers. So basically, they would give you a generic sneaker, you would paint it or put whatever design on it, and they would finish the sneaker professionally, and you would have an actual unique sneaker that you would take with you. So it makes it interactive and personal. Aesop, the one that I told you before, with the top designers, they retain the brand narrative through stores that look nothing like each other. And then finally, Shinola, they have they have manufacturing on site. So if you go to their wonderful shops, there will be someone doing something to watch, maybe finishing the watches, maybe doing the leather bands for the watches, or polishing or something, and you will see part of the manufacturing process, and you of course get immersed in what they're doing. Again, this is relevant for the creation of downtown experiences. So how do we replicate that in a downtown? The whole idea of the work that I do starts with the concept of placemaking. I don't know if you have heard ever of the concept of placemaking. This is a methodology of the creation of public spaces that doesn't rely on designers, doesn't rely on experts. It relies 100% on the community that will use these spaces. They are the expert, they have the ideas, they have the power to implement, they have pretty much everything. And every expert that comes in contact with them is essentially a resource. We have to step back and let them do everything about the process because they are the ones who are going to use it. If I come and I do something about it, it will be my project. So there is a chance the more my intervention grows, the more chances that the outcome of the process will be alien for the people who are going to use it. So the whole idea behind placemaking is that it's a community-run process that creates public spaces that are tailored absolutely for the communities that are going to use it. So when we talk about creative placemaking, it is the same essential process that requires an artistic component. So the creation, yes, it's a creation of public spaces, but it has an artistic component, such as a mural, for example, or a I don't know any piece of public art, right? We call that creative placemaking. Then also it's an ongoing production. Everything we do when we walk in, and I'm thinking places like uh, Atlantic City, maybe. I'm thinking places like Cape May, where you're walking in the downtown and it feels like there's something always happening. There's something about to happen that is part of the story, and there's something about to happen that you say, yes, I am part of this story. I am creating this story, like expectation kind of thing. This is sometimes this is deliberate, sometimes it's not. But always you will feel like there's something happening. So better to plan it, right? So we try to plan for a constant, a continuous, ongoing performance or production that will engage the people who are coming, locals and visitors equally, uh, into the production in downtown. Also, the interactivity, like the Nike example, is very good because the user has their hands on the thing that they will take home with them. This is very important. And of course, also the interactivity, as in Shinola, that you are seeing something being created. I have a wonderful client in South Orange, and she has a party store. And one of her big things is that she creates piñatas to sell. So one little thing we did is that she had all the windows in her store were full of boxes. You couldn't see inside. We took all the boxes away and we pushed the table close to the window, and now she's bringing the piñatas to finish there. So whenever someone is walking by, they will see her gluing or cutting or doing something about the piñata. It's like a constant TV program that's happening there, but it's live. So it's fantastic to see her work and see her creation going on. So the different types of interactivity that are drawing the people to engage with, it may be a brand if it's a business, but engage with the downtown if it's a broader project. And the whole idea, like I when I started this, I told you I was telling you how I came into this, and this is I started doing placemaking years ago, and then eventually I looked at how we do placemaking, and I said, this is a very good way to a very good methodology to start doing downtowns. And the downtowns that go through these processes are, number one, they build a lot of social capital, which is very important. They build a lot of community, and the community starts to manifest in collaboration between businesses. So, for example, I have a bookstore. So there's a wine store, and so the sommelier at the wine store is writing recommendations. So this book X goes great with this wine, may or may not go well with that wine, but still, we gave the recommendation, and people were seeing that there's ways to pair different things that may not be exactly the same, but there's a way to do collaboration with different businesses in town. And then as people are progressing through the downtown, and they are engaging and they are interacting with this play that is happening around them, each one of the businesses in downtown is an attraction. When you're walking in Disneyland or Disney World, and you are in the downtown in what do they call that, Main Street, USA, you see that there's different worlds that you can jump into. So you can jump into Fantasyland, or you can jump into whatever other world, right? And those worlds have attractions as you're walking through them. We're thinking of the local businesses and their storefronts as attractions as well, right? So when I am moving and progressing through downtown, I see the tailor shop, and the tailor shop can be a fantastic experience for anyone in a downtown. It's just finding the way, or the specific link, or the specific manner in which this tailor shop can interact with the sidewalk and create something fantastic. And if you add the tailor shop and the pizza shop and the convenience store and more and more and more shops, each shop becomes an attraction, and the entire downtown becomes a wonderful journey that you're going through. What are the elements of this staging? Number one, we have the vision, then we have to tell a story, then we have to brand it, we have to stage it, of course, we have to create some interactivity, and there has to be something for later. When everything ends and people leave, you want them to take something with them, because you want them to remember how they felt when they were in your place. You really don't care if they remember specific details. What you really have to focus on is that they remember how they felt. Because if you make them feel great, they will return, because that is what people buy. People buy on emotion, right? Um, and these happen to be, more or less, the rules that I created in a book that Ken actually asked me to talk about. My book is called The 10 No BS Rules for Successful Storefront Design. It's a book that tells the story of storefronts, of what they are, of how to create them, and how they engage with the sidewalk. So there are 10 different rules that are the master rules, let's say, and then there's different rules that are about the creation of the entire store, about the creation of specific places in the store, about the creation of special effects, about the creation of the path through the store, and different aspects of the design. So these six are essentially the most important rules condensed, that I have extrapolated to create experiences in downtown. Ooh. Number one, the vision. We start with the vision, not because we want to plan the entire thing. One of the most important things is that we don't try to plan every single part of the interaction, because that is doomed to fail invariably. What we are trying to plan, why we do a vision, is we jump to the last part when they leave and say, what do I want them to leave with? The same thing about the emotions that I was saying before. What do I want them to leave with? I want them to leave feeling what? Energized, sad, happy, eager, inspired, scared, right? If you walk into any of the attractions in an amusement park, when you come out, that is what happens to you. That is how they design those attractions. Looking at what are the feelings that you will have once you're done and you leave. So this is why we create a vision to try to think what do we want them to feel later. Then we have to develop a story. The narrative is super important. This is when we developed basically a script, and we say when we enter, this is what's going to happen. As we progress, we will feel this, we will see this, we will find this, we will be transformed by this, and then it leaves. So, sorry. So it's basically like a hero's journey. If you look at any story, it'll be like a hero story. It starts, the hero is doing nothing, chilling in their houses, and then someone comes and tells them of this great big mission that they have to accomplish. Hero says no, but then something happens that breaks the hero and brings them down, and then the hero has to stand up and be strong and complete the mission. And as they complete the mission, there's a transformation and there's a growth, and then everything is better. So it's a typical cycle of the typical story. Most stories that you read or see in movies or or come across are going to be like this. And this is what we're trying to provide. The branding, the branding is much more than just having a brand, having a symbol that people can recognize a business or a city or a downtown by. This is much more of a messaging process. It's much more of an introspective process in which the business or the city has to look inside and see, so what is going on inside? Who am I? What value am I adding to the users, to whoever is coming in contact and interacting with my brand or city or whatever, right? And the brand, the symbol, is a manifestation of that message. So it becomes credible. So when people come across it, they understand exactly what's going on and understand exactly what a business or a city is about. And when that happens, they have the ability of connecting in a much deeper sense with that entity. So the branding is much more than just a sign. It's a message, and it's a message that has to have a lot of content. The staging, I talk about this a lot. Um, people people will react to all the things that they see, even if they don't see them. I was in a in an ice cream shop yesterday, I think, maybe Saturday, and I saw something that I've been seeing in a lot of retail stores, which is they are putting LED text on the ceiling, right? So as you come in, you will see that it says this was the La Mama del Gelato. It was an amazing gelato place. It said La Mama del Gelato. That was their tagline. And of course, it was written on top of an archway. I look up, I see this, I commented with my friends. They're like, it's very hard to read. But yes, it's very hard to read. But you know what? It doesn't matter. They're not doing it, so you read it. They're doing it, so it is one more detail that is immersing you in this world of La Mama del Gelato ice cream. So you really feel like you're inside, right? So some of the details are not even seen by people. Like if you are in a place that requires your constant attention, and people are passing and there's lots of movement, when people move close to you, they bump, and then it's a constant movement place. Something as simple as having a hook so people can hang their purses or backpacks or whatever, and not be preoccupied of what's going to happen to those, can change the entire experience, because they don't have to be thinking, where is my backpack? They have to be thinking, oh, this is nice. I'm interacting with this. So even the small details. They will help tell the story. So as people move, the more details, the more authenticity, the more um, the I want to say the heavier the burden of the story that I put on the experience and manifest on the design is going to be better for the overall experience. And then the interactivity, like I said before, the Nike and the Shinola examples, they're very interesting examples. And there was in my hometown, there was a theater troupe that eventually gained use of one of the old theaters in town, and they had it for their for rehearsing and they had the hall to put on plays and everything. But they also were part of their deal with the city was that they would dress up as legendary characters of the city, and they would come out and interact with the tourists. So you would have the founder of the city that maybe came and sat next to you on a bench and started telling you about the story of the foundation of the city. You may or may not want to interact with this, but sometimes it works. And when it works, it's a spark that it really, really, really lights a big, big fire because it feels like you are part of a play. Some people were there was an old custom in the city of ice cream man, that they were taking these little carts that had it's a specific type of ice cream that they have in my town. So it's basically an ice box that has the ice cream inside and has little cups. And these guys would be perfectly dressed in white with a bow tie and a white hat, and they were walking around the place and shouting. And the songs, these were typical songs that when you hear that, you know it's the Ice Cream Man. And so they recreated the ice boxes, recreated the dresses and the coats and the hats and everything. And so some of the characters were the Ice Cream Man, and some of the characters were just typical legendary characters from the city. It was an incredible success because of the interaction, number one, and then because of they were selling the ice cream. This was not just a recreation that someone was walking around with an ice box. They were actually selling the ice cream. So it becomes also, I guess, a show of entrepreneurship, of things that can be done in this place, and they take it as a business as well. So the interactivity is very important because it keeps the people engaged with what's happening in there. And then the post visit engagement. Places like Disney, for example, they create their own language. So there's words that people incorporate to their vocabulary, to their everyday vocabulary that did not exist before they came in contact with a movie or an amusement park or an attraction in that amusement park. That the kids start saying and repeating all the time. So they are incorporated into the family lexicon. So that way of creating a lasting engagement with something entity, let's say, it's very good because it keeps you engaged. So you will want to come back. When you come back and you hear that, it's very familiar. So it feels good. Um, it could be language. It could be exclusive memberships, for example. When I didn't know this, but I went to the Metropolitan Museum of Art over the weekend, and then I found a place that they have just for the members, and it's a very nice lounge with coffee and evidently they have larger rooms where they do things like I don't know, maybe cocktails or I don't know what, but I couldn't go in because I'm not a member. And this creates some sort of incentive for me. Should I become a member so I can go there? It looks very comfortable. They have free coffee. So, yeah. So it creates an incentive for me to become a member. When I become a member, I have this open channel with the Metropolitan Museum of Art in which they will feed me information constantly that I will consume happily because it will be information about art. So what do you like? Oh, you like Islamic art. So here's the story, right? So they will keep me constantly engaged and constantly focused on what they're doing. And sometimes maybe they will bring me in for something larger. Maybe not the Met Gala, but something larger. And then creating a unique brand culture. So you see people walking around with Disney shirts. They are happy wearing their Disney shirt. They are proud wearing their Disney shirt. They are reminded of some nice feeling that they had when they purchased the Disney shirt. So they become part of the brand culture. And the brand works very hard, the brands, I guess, work very, very hard for people to become part of their users. IKEA, Nike, Shinola, Disney, these people are working really, really hard with psychologists, with sociologists, with anthropologists to create these brand experiences and these opportunities for engagement so that people are very engaged all the time. And when they are in the stores, they are completely immersed. So, what I say is they have spent millions of dollars. Number one, to create this. Number two, to recreate the Main Street experience in a closed environment. What is the mall? The mall is a copy of Main Street that has been implemented in a closed environment, in a controlled environment, where everything is cleaned and safe and homogenized. So we are in a downtown. We are in the Main Street. We are in the OG mall where people want to go. But then we have this great opportunity here, and we have this great wealth of wisdom and knowledge that they have developed thanks to their $1 million investments. So we'll just take it back and do it in downtown. And then there's how many business owners do we have tonight? Please raise your hands if you're a business owner. Oh, great. So three things that I would hope you find interesting so that you can implement in your businesses, in your storefronts. Number one is to create a very close interactivity and activation of the sidewalk. Whether you are in a main street or in a strip mall, on a strip mall, in a strip mall, um, anywhere, you open your doors and you have a little bit of sidewalk in front. This is the place where the people will come and decide in less than a second whether they want to go in or they'll keep walking, right? Sometimes when you are in places that are more auto oriented, they want to do larger signs and more lights and things like that. But mostly, we are going to look at places that have a reasonable amount of foot traffic. And what they want to do is they want to create this great experience right outside of their doors. Number one, lights. Number two, lights, music, and cookies. I will tell you about that. And then creating a path through the store. Activating the sidewalk is it's easy and not. Sometimes all it takes is a table and two chairs, and you forget about it. And what happens is the people start appropriating of that table and those chairs. And they start coming and sitting down. And they start this very feared word. They start loitering. When that happens, and there's more people that are coming, the number one attractor of people is more people. When you see someone sitting and you see one person sitting outside of a store, you say, "Oh, that's cool." When you see two people standing outside a store, you may look. When you see two people sitting and one standing, like, oh, there's a line. When you see 200 people on the line, oh, I have to get on that line, right? Because that's the power of attraction that more people have, and that works to the advantage of the storefront. So bringing things outside from the store, bringing things like, I don't know, if it's a clothing store, maybe bring out a rack with all red clothes for Valentine's Day. Maybe if it's a record store, maybe bring out a table with a record player and a specifically curated playlist that is turning. If I don't know, different maybe a restaurant, maybe the restaurant can bring out a something about their menu or something about the culture that the restaurant represents. um, Spilling over to the sidewalk really creates some engagement that is not just visual. If you bring something out that has smell, if you bring music out, if you bring something tactile that people can touch, it engages them at many different levels and much deeper. And then the story here is about a friend of mine who has a an art cinema hall. She opened the art cinema hall, and of course, in the more artistic movies, there was two people watching movies. Eventually, she decided that as part of a big project that we did on her neighborhood, she decided that she would create a parklet. Who has heard this word parklet before? One, two. Okay. A parklet is nothing else than a little park that has taken the space of one parking space in front of a store. We create a raised platform so that it's exactly the same level as the sidewalk. And on that platform, things happen. It may be a public space. Some cities require that whenever these parklets are created, they become public space. So restaurants, for example, they can take their tables outside and expand their service towards the outside to have a terrace. But whenever they are not open, it has to remain open as a public space, for example. Or it may be just something that people bring out and create a seating space and it's public. So she decided to create the sparklet that you see there right in front of her cinema hall. And she brought people from the neighborhood who would come every Tuesday at 5 p.m. to knit. It was a knitting club that she started. A knitting club has nothing to do with a movie hall, nothing. However, the knitting club started to come regularly every Tuesday at 5 p.m., every Tuesday at 5 p.m. And there was an awareness that was risen about, please excuse if it's not risen, awareness that was risen about the cinema hall. People started knowing, they acknowledged that there was something there, something happening there, and people were going in. She got a lot of people who were going not just to the movies, but also to the coffee shop that she had there. And all the time, there were people coming to the parklet, not just at 5 p.m. on Tuesdays, but any other time. People coming to knit, people coming to sit, people coming to have coffee, people purchasing the coffee inside and coming out, people talking and chatting in groups after the movies, people chatting before the movies. So it became a public space that was very beneficial for the neighborhood because it brings light and security and activity, so it feels safer. And it's also very good for not one but two businesses that were happening inside this place, which were the cinema hall, the movie hall, and the coffee shop. Number two, lights, music, and cookies. Whenever you walk into a coffee shop, it smells like coffee. You're like, oh, nice. You walk into a bakery, it smells like bread. Have to have the bread. When you walk into any different places, there's one that I really enjoy. It's called the anthropology. And when you walk into an anthropology, they have their proprietary smell scent. So when you walk in, you will always smell the same thing, and it's a very nice smell. And they have it custom made for them, which you can purchase and take to your house. So it's an olfactory interaction that you have with them. Keeping the lights on when you are walking and it's after hours and places are closed, that they keep the lights on. It feels safe towards the street. It feels like there's something still going on there despite it's closed. And then, of course, the music. When you are walking by a place and they have music, I have a client in Trenton. If you're ever in the downtown Trenton around the state area, it's called the Downtown Deli, and she has amazing sandwiches. But the best thing about it is that you can purchase a sandwich and come out, and she has the most amazing collection of the playlist of jazz playing right outside. You sit there and you're listening to this wonderful music and having her wonderful sandwiches, and it's she's engaging you in every possible way. You are touching the sandwich, you are eating the sandwich, you are smelling, of course, the sandwich, you are listening to the jazz, you are looking at the wonderful historic facade of her business. Every single one of your senses is engaged with her brand. It works really well for her, and it may work really well for anyone else. Of course, everyone loves cookies. When you're smelling a cookie, you just want it. And then the path and the trajectory. What happens with customers when they come into your store? Some people have retail stores. So I'm guessing that your store is not so much focused on retail. It's a little bit more of a service thing, right? Because you're an artist and it's a different way of doing it. However, for any kind of store, for any kind of business, people are going to come in and they are going to have a trajectory, a path through the store, looking at things, looking at the table where Ken is doing his stained glass magic, and keep going, and then exit the store. Thank you very much, and they leave. There's usually the same path that if you become the customer and do that path, later you will look at your customers and you will see that everybody does the same basic path through the store, right? So you have an opportunity there. You have the opportunity of taking that path and giving them things to look at, giving them things to do, giving them things to be interested by as they are progressing in these places, and selling stuff, because that's what businesses ultimately do, right? So what happens when they walk in? Do you say welcome? Do you say hi? Do you hi? Can I sell you something? Can I sell you something? Or you just say hello from the back and keep doing whatever you're doing and let them browse. The interaction, whatever you do, however you propose this interaction to be, is going to be also a branding message. It's going to be a marketing message about your business. So the first thing you want to do is just welcome them and not sell them anything. You just want them to be acquainted and interacting with your brand before you sell them anything, right? Have objects that tell stories. Whenever I walk into an artist's studio, I see something that they're doing, and if I spend more than 0.5 seconds looking at it, immediately the artist is going to come, oh, that piece I made when I went to this place and I did that and this happened to me. So attaching a personal story to the object, I am absolutely fascinated by the object, the story, the person, the artist, the charisma, everything. I will walk out with the piece, most likely. So attaching stories to things is very useful. I was joking with a client of mine. She has an amazing antique store in Metuchen, and I was saying, so if you don't have a story for something, I see everything that you sell has a story. If you don't have a story for something, make up a cousin. Come up with a cousin and say, yes, this is my cousin from Uganda who does this and traveled to this place and brought me this from here. And so if you want a bigger one, I can have him go again and send me one more. There's no cousin. It's just a story that she made up. But attaching these things to the objects that people buy, people are not going to care about the cousin when they bring this thing to their home and make a party, and people are, oh wow, that's a very nice plate. Oh yeah, it's brought to me especially from Uganda. So it just another dimension to things that you are selling, and adds another dimension, of course, to the business. Show your wins. I don't know if you can see that there. There's in here. There's a trophy. Very hard to see with this picture. There's a trophy, big trophy, and the trophy was given to the owner of this Salvadoran restaurant because she won the empanada contest of Atlantic City. Apparently, this is a big thing. If you get the chance to go in September, very, very big thing. Um, and very good empanadas. They have many restaurants that make empanadas, not just Latin American empanadas, because there's a lot of Bangladeshi people. So there's also, samosas and different types of turnovers, and they all compete. And these people won. So they are showing this trophy in the center of, if you see this, you are immediately drawn to walking towards this place where they have the fruit and the lights and everything is happening there, right? And these are the objects that each one has a story, for example. She can attach a story to each one of these. And then you walk here, and what you see is a trophy. And of course, she will tell you that she won the trophy last September. Um, Picking a theme is also good. When you're telling a story and you're veering too much out of the story, people may lose interest. In the same way, when you're creating the path around your store, it should feel like a flow that has continuity from one station where people make a pause to the next station where people make another pause. Things should be There should be some continuity. There should be some story that people can read basically from what they see, and then give them a little prize at the end. This goes back to the post engagement something. Give them a little prize at the end. The price usually should not be whatever they buy, because if they don't buy something, they won't have a price. Make sure they have a price each time they get a price each time they are leaving your place, because that is a little trinket, a little something that they will remember how they felt in your store with that thing. Um, there are some other things you can start today. If you have a retail store, maybe there's a few services you can attach to some things that you're selling. If you have a service business, maybe there's some objects that you can attach to that service business, right? um, Find a teachable skill. For some people, this is going to be easier. If you have, and I'm going to take your example again, if you have an artist studio, for example, there is it's very easy to find a teachable skill to. So you want to learn about, right? It's easier, but think hard about that. Think hard about how teachable moments have made your business as awesome as it is. And so that awesomeness can be taught to other people, and the awesomeness of the business can be transferred to other people that are engaging and that are wanting to come back and building a lasting engagement also with the business. Partnering with other local businesses, like I said before, the book with the recommendations. There was one amazing bookstore in South Beach where I sadly closed after COVID. But whenever you went there, they had these little cards that someone in the staff had written as a recommendation for something else. So there's a book. So I don't know. Beth is recommending that. I don't know Beth, but I know that Beth is someone in the staff. Beth is recommending this book because there's a little 3 lines written, handwritten by Beth. So I know that there is a connection, a direct human connection from that book to something that is happening in the store. And that builds up the brand engagement. And this is also easily done in a downtown level, in a broader level on the street. The engagement, the interaction, the teachable moments, teachable skills, the products, the services to add, right? And then finally, table and a couple of chairs. You will see, if you don't have already something like that going on, try it. It probably costs less than $100, and the engagement and the change that you will get just from that simple gesture will be amazing. You will tell me later. And that's it. I won't take more of your time. Thank you so much. This has been a great journey for me. It started many years ago, as I told you. I am always very happy to talk about these things. I sometimes veer away from the point that I'm trying to make. So I will straight out tell you what is the point that I'm trying to make with this presentation. Everything we do at an individual, sorry, that's my kid's shower alarm. I have to put alarms for everything. The point I am trying to make is that pretty much everything we do as a business owner, as a Main Street manager, as a downtown organization, it is to make people feel better. And when many people do this at the same time in a place, the feeling for many, many people will be amazing. So all the stories that you've heard today, all the things that I've told you today are trying to tell that one story. Look after your business, look, turn, get out, turn around, and look at the business and try to find the beauty in everything that you do. Try to find the same beauty that your customers find in your business and try to live up to that beauty. And that is what will make them feel great or feel whatever you want them to feel, because this is, remember, this is something that you plan for and you control. I want them to feel this and work towards that. When that happens, when that magic happens and people start feeling that way, the engagement will be great. And then when you multiply that by however many businesses the downtown has, the downtown is going to be legendary. I hope that is the message that came across. If it didn't, but that's the message I'm telling you. Thank you so much. Very happy to be here, and thanks to Ken and David for inviting me.